This is Chicago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Chicago's media was dominated by a handful of major corporations. But a resistance movement arose to free Chicago's media from their clutches. One player in this movement is the Chicago Independent Media Center and its TV show, Chicago Independent Television. The Independent Media Center is a worldwide network of grassroots correspondents committed to using the tools of the media for promoting social and economic justice. You are watching this month's dispatch from the Chicago Independent Media Center.
In this episode, we'll join Chicagoans protesting a controversial series of school closings by the Rahm Emanuel administration. We'll also cover safety concerns students face with school closings. And we'll see two segments devoted to the destructive oil extraction process known as fracking. Stay with us.
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by Coca-Cola, whose logo is stained red by the blood of murdered Colombian labor union organizers. Learn more at killercoke.org. Coke, the drink of the death squads.
Mr. Bishop, I want to use this picture on the front page of our next issue.
Oh, come now, Nancy. We can't print a picture like that. Paper is read by people all over the city. Just think what a picture like that would do to the reputation of our newspaper.
I don't think we should hide things just because they're unpleasant. How do we stop things like this if we don't let the people know they're happening?
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. The Chicago Public School System announced a closing of 54 public schools, which spurred protest actions in the city. We'll learn more in this segment.
Like hundreds of other Chicago public school students who drop out, not because they're lazy or they don't want to go to school, because they're being forced to choose between education or death.
Many people don't know what goes on down the streets of South Inglewood, North Side, West Side. It doesn't matter. Y'all don't walk in our shoes. Y'all don't know how it feels walking every day to school. Ron doesn't know what goes on in these neighborhoods, only what he sees on TV and what the reporters say. But you don't come down there and sit with us and talk to us about what's really going on. I've already lost one brother, and I'm not trying to lose another one. I'm not going to be here next year, so keeping these schools open is the best thing they can do right now.
They say we got $1 billion deficit in the public schools. That's because they've taken $1 billion out of our property taxes to put it in the TIF to develop downtown. It's time to develop our communities. That's the money we need. State lawmakers, you can change the law that governs these closings. Listen, everybody. We expect a floor vote on Senate Bill 1671 and House Bill 3283. These two bills will place an immediate moratorium on school closings. No more, the Speaker not gonna let us do it. No more, we gave it the good fight. You don't have to live in these neighborhoods and go to funerals. We do. So from here on in, no more games when we playing with these people. We expect a moratorium on school closings and give it an elected school board in the city of Chicago.
I'm here supporting the community against the closing of schools. I think it's going to have an adverse effect to the communities that's being closed. I don't think that the mayor and all of those in city council and CPS that's advocating school closing have the best interests of the community at heart.
Oh my God.
Well, we can't have trillions of dollars spent on wars overseas while we're cutting funding for schools at home. I think the budget deficit here in Illinois is about $53 billion, but the taxpayers of Illinois have already paid over $60 billion for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And as you know, Martin Luther King said, and as I usually try to reference, the bombs that explode on Vietnam and the bombs that explode in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya, they end up exploding on the streets of America like this.
We're out here campaigning for Roosevelt University. We have this campaign going on called No to Counselors, No to Caps, Yes to Counselors. We want more counselors in the Chicago public schooling system. So we're out here getting petitions signed. We want 1,000 petitions for Senator Durbin and 1,000 sent to Senator Kirk.
This is really an outrage, what's happened in the last decade here, but it's worse and worse, and so...
Any society that doesn't invest in its children is doomed, and this is an outrage. We should all feel it. Our grandchildren and all of these kids are targeting the black community, it's so clear.
You know, this is the result of years of abandonment, and what we've got here is a Jim Crow school system, and it's been something we've been fighting for years, but it's getting worse and worse. And these closing of schools is just creating an apartheid system. So we're here to protest that injustice, the racism of it, and we're fighting for public education.
This is what happens when you try to close over 50 schools. The most in the history of America, except Katrina. So, look over there. The only time that's ever happened before was when Katrina, shut down the whole school system. They rebuilt it with 100% charters, so there's no neighborhood public schools in Katrina. The people have no say and no control over the school system there. And in Chicago, that's what the mayor's trying to do. He brought in Barbara Britt Bennett as the CEO, the 5th CEO in 2 years into this school system. Their strategy is to disrupt and divest and confuse and destroy these communities so that they can redevelop it. I mean, our mayor, he works for Goldman Sachs. Let's get that straight. He should be in jail because he took Clinton's appointment to work at Freddie Mac at the same time that he was a banking consultant for Goldman Sachs, and that should land you in the federal slammer, but instead it lands you in the Chicago mayor position. We got Bruce Rauner, this billionaire at the Chicago Commerce Board, who has no educational qualifications whatsoever, but just appoints himself to some education task force and wants to run for governor and wants to privatize all education in Chicago. They're kicking out these communities. 88% of the school closings, over 50 schools, are in the poorest black neighborhoods in Chicago, the same neighborhoods they're trying to redevelop. Look at Cabrini Green. The housing authority shut down the projects there, and now they're building upper upper-class rent homes, and they're trying to turn the neighborhood around, but before they did that, they had to close the schools and start all this violence in that community to push out the black people who are really living there, who paid all these taxes, who built this city. So, you know, that's what the mayor's talking about when he's talking about a global city. He's talking about moving everybody that lives and works and occupies Chicago, moving them to the side and making a whole bunch of money and laughing all the way to the bank and giving us the finger.
I'm Jerry Boyle of the National Lawyers Guild, and you're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Oh, great rainbows
and thunderstorms
of our Creator's
brainstorms, far and wide
across the world. Our pure waters
Others are at harm. Please be a guide
for the protectors of our waters
and lands. May you break
in parts of your canyon red,
sunset orange, corn,
pollen yellow, seas, oceans,
lakes of blue, and mountain purples for all peoples of each color across the world to defend
our Mother Earth. She needs our help.
For she is our
life, and her water is our blood.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. The proposed closing of 54 Chicago public schools has raised safety concerns among Chicago residents. Many affected students will have to walk through crime-ridden neighborhoods to get to their new school. The proposed closing of Leif Ericson is one example, as you'll learn in this segment.
My concern is the dangers that lie ahead for my children because I specifically live in the area and I know the area pretty well. And they're not really addressing all the safety concerns that they're saying that they have under control, which they really don't. They don't have any game plan for the care for these children. They don't have no plan for the well-being for these children. So I'm really concerned about not only the lies that they perpetuate to the families, but the safety for these kids.
My main concern is, first of all, the fact that they have to walk so far and they're closing the school down, and they're not concerned about their education, just concerned about just packing one school. And that's not fair to not only my child, but all the other children in the neighborhood.
No school closing! No school closing! Save our schools! Save our schools! Save our schools!
I hear that a lot of the reasons that they're giving, or a lot of the excuses that they're giving, is because of inadequate funding, inadequate programs.
Spin.
Is this?
It's a spin.
It's all spin.
It's a spin and lies. Okay. Outrageous lies. Because if you really look at the numbers, which they can never explain where that deficit or where they got the numbers from, we've asked repeatedly to give us an accurate accounting of where this deficit is coming from, where last year CPS ended in a surplus.
One of the things I've heard is that we don't have adequate equipment, classes, courses.
That's not true.
My understanding, all these courses and classes that they're saying don't exist are existing.
Yes.
And are in perfect order.
Yes, that's exactly it. We don't know. That again, we invited. You know what? We invite the mayor and the CEO of CPS. They chose not to come. You're asking questions that we have been asking. As you can see, look at how desolate it's been around here. More abandoned buildings right here. We've passed abandoned buildings. Holes in the sidewalk. Men just standing out drinking. This is what they have to go through. And it's not right.
About 167 sexual predators live on this ground.
Well, we know at least 134.
For those of you who don't know, the red X on a building means that if it starts on fire, they can just let it burn down. They don't actually have to stop it from burning on fire.
As far as they can ride the buses to Pulaski, and they have 4 blocks from Pulaski to the school. That's a big much. We do not need that type of attitude from CPS. They say we will have a safe passage. This is not a safe passage.
Who we are? Who we are? So we tell them. So we tell them. We are Ericson. We are Ericson. Mighty, mighty Ericson. Mighty, mighty Ericson.
There's gang activity continuously around here. There's shootings continuously around here. They tell you, the first thing they told you, it was about academics. The next thing they told you that it was about utilization. The next thing they'll tell you that it's going to be about overcrowded schools. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. The bottom line is simply this. If the Board of Education is concerned about what is happening with our schools, then tell them to tell Barbara Byrd Bennett to deal with the regulations that she's not complying with. And those are, one of those things is residency. She lives in Ohio. She has not moved to Chicago. So she and the person that is over finances in the city of Chicago does not live here.
Hey there, I'm Matthew Filipovich, comedian, cartoonist, and talk show host, and you are watching Chicago Independent Television.
Remember that if you're out and about this weekend, many streets and highways will be closed.
At McCormick Place, site of next week's NATO summit, this nation's largest convention center is becoming its most impregnable stronghold. Nearby storefronts are boarded up as if for a hurricane, but this storm is man-made.
Mayor 1% Emanuel has issued an invitation to NATO's warmongers to invade Chicago.
Security is high around the city, especially the downtown area.
Do not let the city of Chicago intimidate you from exercising your First Amendment rights.
The system is failing most of the people in some ways, and people are in the streets.
NATO has got to go.
They're able to pay for this war machine all around the world by cutting back on every social program right here and keeping people more and more divided.
Attention. This is the Chicago Police Department. You are engaging in unlawful conduct.
If we were starting a new community, would this be why we create police? Holding in a democratic demonstration? What are we to them? What are we? I served this country honorably. I stood up to defend what I thought was a good idea, what I thought was my fellow Americans. And now they're gonna put police on the streets to cage me in? This is a democracy. They answer to us. They answer to us.
We will continue to play our full part in building a world that is safer and more secure.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. Here's a longer segment about the destructive and controversial oil extraction known as fracking, especially as it pertains to southern Illinois.
We live where the Mississippi and Ohio rivers converge at the very southern tip of Illinois. It's a place of small communities, wineries, arts and crafts, good music, fresh local food. It's known for its wildlife and unique ecology, and there's history here. Families have lived here for generations. Folks visit us to take advantage of the numerous lakes, rivers, cypress swamps, and the peace and quiet of our southern hills. Right now, clean water for drinking, home use, farms and businesses comes from lakes and underground aquifers. The clean water here is also important for the numerous other residents who depend on it for survival. But all of that could change. Our region has been targeted as a site for massive gas and oil exploration. So-called landmen are scouring county records in search of mineral rights. Once owners are found, they are offered money to turn over their mineral rights to companies who will set up shale gas, high-volume hydraulic fracturing operations, otherwise known as horizontal fracking. Horizontal fracking is a new and different kind of fracking that involves deep wells which require 10 to 30 million gallons of fresh water to fracture rock deep underground. The entire fracking industry in southern Illinois could use up to 1 trillion gallons of water. That would empty Cedar Lake over 140 times. Those millions of gallons of water could be taken from our precious local rivers and lakes, depleting our water supply. Or it could be trucked in from miles away, which could mean over 1,000 tanker truckloads per well. Lines of massive trucks spewing a lot of exhaust and carbon into our atmosphere, wearing down our small roads and endangering lives. But that's not the worst of it. The water is then mixed with sand and thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals, the names of which the industry will not share, claiming their mixtures are proprietary and protected. Industry is protected, people are not. This toxic mixture is pumped down the well at extremely high pressure, fracturing the rock deep below. After a fracking operation, a lot of that toxic mix resurfaces from deep underground. The saline heavy water with concentrated levels of radium 700 times more than allowed in our drinking water mixes with the poisonous chemical soup and comes back up the well, where it is stored in holding tanks or open-air evaporation ponds. But throughout the process, it can seep into aquifers and wells, resulting in methane in our water, contamination of our land, numerous health consequences for people and wildlife. The toxic water cannot be treated, it must be disposed of. This means hundreds more trucks rumbling through our neighborhoods to take the millions of gallons of contaminated water away. We don't know where the water goes, but many toxins remain. The gas and oil companies promise local jobs, but the jobs mostly go to out-of-state industry professionals. They promise their work will do no harm to people or the environment, but people all over the country have horror stories to tell when fracking came to their towns, their farms, and their land. We must not let it happen here. Keep Southern Illinois free from the long-lasting health hazards, destruction of property, real estate values, and the environment caused by fracking. Keep Southern Illinois free from the pollution and diminution of water supplies that fracking brings. keep Southern Illinois the way you love it.
Hi, I'm Vermin Supreme, and whenever I'm watching some sort of moving images on a screen, it's indie media for sure.
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by AT&T, the company lobbying hard to destroy network neutrality and public access television. Learn more at SaveTheInternet.com. AT&T, your world degraded.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. Illinois opposition to the destructive and controversial oil extraction process known as fracking has increased recently. Here's a short segment about a creative protest in Chicago's Thompson Center.
concerned that hydraulic fracturing is coming to the state of Illinois. It's caused a lot of environmental damage in other states, and right now it's not here on a large scale, and we're really afraid that our lawmakers are going to allow the industry to come in, and we're really afraid that that's going to make people sick, and it's going to cause a lot of pollution and environmental damage. And so we're here just making a statement saying that, you know, this is a terrible idea. We don't need to bring fracking into the state of Illinois for jobs. There are plenty of other ways that we can provide jobs for people that don't include, you know, wrecking our environment. And so, you know, we're here to send this message, and we want to let our lawmakers know that we're unhappy with the way that things are going, that they should really be looking out for our best interests.